I'm Chris Vallillo, and I am a roots musician, a singer-songwriter. I like to refer to myself as a humanities-based performer because I believe content is a huge part in making music that is meaningful and connects with people and culture. Um, and I have been doing this for quite a while now. I'd hate to say in public how many years. I live in Macomb, Illinois, which is down in west central Illinois, and I've spent the past 45 years in rural Illinois and around the rural Midwest, and have spent a lot of that time soaking it up, trying to absorb the taste and grit and texture of the culture, and then bring that back out through the music and shows that I create.
Why bother?
I think it is important to keep these stories, these histories, this art, this culture alive as the world is evolving so fast that we're losing our individual identities. Um, I think you can't know how to go forward if you don't know where you came from and learn from the lessons of history, like Mark Twain. History may not repeat itself, but it does rhyme. And using music and stories and culture as a way to hold us together and keep us focused on the big picture, not that short, immediate picture, I think is critical. And while I tend to work with my focus in the rural Midwest, especially Illinois, I don't see why what I do also wouldn't translate to Eastern France or or Italy or Ireland or any of these places. The idea is to celebrate your heritage, incorporate it into your work, and let it resonate and lead forward. I mean, I would say that's my best guess at what I'm trying to do, and I think it could translate anywhere. I wouldn't be the one to walk into France and do it with France. I'm able to do this in Illinois because I've got 45 years boots on the ground experience working in these little communities, talking to folks in their 80s and 90s and learning about their lives in the late 1800s and seeing the arc of progress and the changes that have happened, some good, some bad. Um, but some local person could do the same thing in their community anywhere in the world. And I know there are many great artists that are doing that. I think it's just the work that makes sense to me.
What senses does your work appeal to the most?
Well, obviously, oral senses because music is sound. But to me, it's the imagination. When I hear a great song, I am inside the song. I'm inside the story. And I visualize, it's like a movie playing inside of my mind. I see the story. Of course, I'm interpreting it through my own experiences. So how I see that story isn't the same thing as the person sitting next to me. But to me, it connects with all of those things. Visuals, a good performance involves uh, standing in front of an audience and exposing yourself emotionally and artistically and basically casting your bread out onto the water and hoping that it will resonate with your audience. And sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. And you can only do your best work and hope that it does. But there are a number of unusual circumstances where it really becomes clear that you've done that. You have connected with somebody, you've changed their life in a small way. Um, I may have kind of wandered off our thought there, but I think that's very, very important. Um, as a performer, I'm also inside the story when I tell it. So interpreting it is very important because you have to take on the emotional baggage of whatever it is that you're trying to express and filter that through yourself.
What song of yours would you feel like sharing with the world right now that sums it all up and something that the world needs to hear?
Um, I would choose the song The Final Harvest, which I talked about the man interrupting me with. So give me just a second here. So this is called The Final Harvest, and it was written about a true story of a farm family's struggles a few years back. Oh, sorry, started the wrong song. I was thinking about Forgatonia. Okay, here we go. streaks of dawn were touching the horizon. My eyes were playing tricks out on the road. So I pulled into the cafe just aside of Morris for a cup of strong black coffee, tired to the bone. Staring down the steam rising from my cup and saucer, I was trying to clear my ears of that highway sound, when a man in faded coveralls and well-worn leather work boots came in and took a stool a few seats down. Waitress brought him coffee. He ordered up the special. She asked, "What brings you out in this autumn blow?" And he said, "You know Gerald Steffes, the old man killed here late last summer." She sat down her pad and pencil. She said, "I don't think so." He was just like any one of us, an ordinary farmer. He was a common man with a heart and a calloused hand. He hoped to live just long enough to pay off all his mortgage and then to reap one final harvest from his land. He wanted one final harvest where no banker held his paper. He used to say that was his heart's desire. Just one final harvest where the land he worked was his alone. Then he'd quit that farming business. He'd sell his tractors and retire. And he said, "You know, we nearly made it, stirring sugar in his coffee. Just 5 more years till he was free and clear. When that darn old John Deere tractor rolled and crushed him here last August, left his wife and family helpless at the worst time of the year. Well, a few of us are meeting just to help him bring the crops in. You know, he did the same for all of us before." Then he finished up his coffee, slowly rose and paid his ticket. He left a quarter tip, headed towards the door. The sun was up and shining as I pulled back on that highway. I slipped it into gear and headed west. But as I topped the hill, a couple miles past the diner, I saw a sight below me that took away my breath. Gleaming in the morning light in rolling fields of amber, rumbled more than 30 combines in a row. Crawling across the cornfields like a swarm of hungry locusts, blowing silage all around like it was snow. There were grain trucks overflowing, bound for Morris and Manuka. There were pickups parked a mile along the ditch. As I stared there at that eerie sight, you know it seemed a fitting tribute to an ordinary man and a simple wish. He wanted one final harvest where no banker held his paper. Used to say that was his heart's desire. just one final harvest, where the land he worked was his alone. Then he quit that farming business, he'd sell his tractors and retire.